Now, step 5. Step 5 is stats review. Now, stats review is all about looking at the first point of stats you need to review is the reliability. Now, what does reliability mean? Basically, it's the percentage number of winning trades in your strategy. How many trades won, that means above the plus sign, and how many trades lost, which is the negative. Okay. Now, in terms of the next stats you need to look at, which is so critical, especially for professional traders, this is so important. Now, it's what we call the maximum drawdown of your entire strategy. Okay. Now, in this particular stats, what you need to pay attention more is your consecutive loss cluster. Now, you do need to know this even before you trade live. So this is very important for you to know when do you stop trading the strategy. We usually give sometimes a leeway of 1.5 times or 2 times our actual expected drawdown, which is derived from our backtesting results when we did proof of concept in step 2, remember? So that is to do a maximum drawdown. The final one is where we look at the stats of average profit to average loss. Now, what is this meant to tell you, and what are you supposed to compare? Compare this average profit to average loss of each of your trades in your trading strategy in terms of what should have been actually what did you get and what should have been expected. Okay, you see, traders, what happens is, remember step 4 where you're doing consistent execution, because we are all humans and therefore the emotional side of us sometimes gets into us and we do not consistently execute. So this is why we need to have these 2 results of this average profit to average loss ratio. So imagine that a robot or a machine were executing these trades. What would it have done if it had flawless execution? Then the second thing that you need to compare it against on how you performed against the machine or the robot. But of course, for those of you who are using programmed machines or robots, you might say, oh Thiru, I don't need to then compare both these results. But yet again, I will still say yes. Let me explain why. Because when you're using robots or programmed machines, because sometimes what may happen is, for that day there was a slippage, or for that day, even slippage is fine, it's still part of your actual results which will tie in with a robot if you were to execute it. But the only thing that can happen is, what happens that day you forgot to switch on your computer, what happens that day some electricity failure happens in that part of the world that you are living in. So whatever it is always good to have the actual results that you're getting in real time versus what you should have got, the expected. Now this will then give rise to 2 of the curves, which we then call the 2 equity curves, and the gap in between those curves. So for example, look at this. So this would be the actual curve and this would be the expected. So for example, let me just write expected here and actual below it. Now the gap between these curves is what we call the profit gap. So how much are you lagging behind the expected results? Of course, as you get more and more good in your trading and you get into the zone, do expect your actual curve actually to go up than the expected curve, because that more in tune of you to the zone of trading in the zone happens, and you can then be able to make good discretionary calls which can even outbeat the system. That would be step 5 of stats review. So critical step that most traders forget to do, and this is important. We trust you enjoyed our Traders Education Center tech video. To unlock the full tech modules for free, click on the link below and hit the subscribe button. Then go ahead to register with your contact details and create your unique username and password to enjoy the fully unlocked tech modules.